Okay, babe. So, doing a video for you. You're in the office right now. You're watching my baby. We need to change your tire. We're actually going to do this a little backwards. So I'm going to be putting on a real tire and taking off the donut. Unfortunately, most of the time if you're going to have to change a tire, it's going to be taking off the real tire and putting on a donut. But it's basically the same thing. Just one is a lot lighter than the other. Some of the tools that you're going to need. Alright. Most important, you're going to need a wheel chock. You can use a brick, a piece of wood, something. But this car is going to move. Every car is going to move after you jack it up. And that's when you're in a potential danger area where safety, things are going to fall on you. Worst, best case scenario, you're just going to break your car. And then you're screwed for a lot more than just your tire. So, wheel chock. As you can see, I put it under the front wheel. Your emergency brake will cover your back wheel just fine. Let me set this back up again. There you go. Next, you're gonna need a jack. Most vehicles will provide it. Usually they'll have this real small one. It has a small slot in here. This slot is gonna match up underneath on your frame rail. You're gonna see just the bar. It's not actually a bar, it's more like a flange. It's hooked up directly to your frame rail. What's up, man?
You bring you here to take your tires?
Ah, that's why I'm here. Okay, so going back to that flange is going to go right inside up here, and you're going to need to see where that's at. They're usually within about 18 inches from the end of your fender on both sides, front and back. So this one, hopefully you can see over my shoulder, is indeed right here. And so you're going to look for it. It's just going to be a thin bar, and it's going to have two cutouts, and that's it. You just match it up going directly underneath there. So manually raise your jack. Slide it under. Make sure everything is straight when you're doing it. You don't want it to lean. You want to try not to have your jack lean. If you're out in the dirt somewhere, you're going to want to get a block, a piece of wood, a flat rock, something to make sure that wherever you're jacking up is absolutely flat. You don't want to push this at an angle. There we go. Now that we're in there, okay, the other part of the jack is usually some sort of a spin rod. All right, we call these spin rods. See, it's got a handle on one side and a hook on the other. Hook it right into it. Here, and now you can just spin it. All right. Now you don't want to jack it all the way up in the beginning, very important. I'm just taking some of the weight off of it and lifting it up. There we go. Pop this off so I don't accidentally hit it. And next, lug nut wrench. Now, you're gonna have one in there. It's gonna be a single bar, and it's gonna be made specifically for the one that you have. I'm using this because I have it and it's easy, all right? It's just a four-way. I have all kinds of different ones, so I can change anybody's tire here, more than likely. So I'm going to go in what's called cracking it loose. The reason you want to do that when there's still weight on there is because as soon as you start to pull it, there's no way that e-brake, if it's on, is going to be able to hold the average 100 to 110 foot-pounds of pressure that is going to be on there holding those lug nuts on. So find out your size. I believe yours is probably a 21 millimeter, which is like a medium size. That is indeed the right size. More than likely, get it on as straight as you possibly can. Stand on it. You just need to crack it loose. You don't need to loosen it all the way. That's it. Also, skip a nut when you're loosening it. 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. Most 5 lugs, it's real easy to skip that nut. Do it on purpose, because then you'll loosen it up in an even way so that you're not putting so much pressure on any one lug nut at a time. Skip a nut. Most of the time when I say crack it loose, where that phrase came from is because you actually hear an audible pop. Since I just changed this yesterday, it hasn't locked in. There's no corrosion that has locked it in. Forgot you have an anti-theft log, and I always put it, me personally, I put it in the first aid kit. It is Velcro to the back seat. That way you can never lose it. Sometimes you clean out your glove compartment or you clean out your center console and you move it and you lose it, then you're screwed. Okay. Special to the ones that are here. Set that bad boy on there. It should be the exact same one as the size that it was before. There we go. Notice I didn't stand on that one. I know it's going to be a pain in the ass, but you have to use your arms. Because I'm extending myself farther out with this extension, I'm allowing for more of a leverage to possibly snap one of these studs that these nuts are held on to. So I wouldn't stand on it when you do it. All right, and the last one. There we go. Cracked, 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 cracked. Now I'm going to continue jacking. Now, most of the time, that tire is going to be larger in diameter from the nuts to the top of the tire than the spare will be. So I'm probably going to have to jack this up at least an extra inch or so off of where it is now. Once it gets off the ground, go another inch. Okay. The gloves, I wasn't allowed to slide in my hands. Keep an eye on the jack, making sure that the jack isn't suddenly tilting at an angle one way or the other. Because if it is, put it back down, tighten that back up, unfortunately, and straighten it out. You don't want it to be leaning so far that it slides out underneath and then just drops down. We have no jack stands. You're not going to have any on the road. You have no additional safety. All right. Inch and a half. Maybe a little more. All right. Try it again. Here we go. It's underneath. Now I know it's good. Lug nuts. Don't lose them. Set them somewhere that's real easy to get to. Another reason it's nice to have these, they spin. They out a lot faster. Alright. Mental note, all 5 of these, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't lose those. Alright, usually what I do is I push in on the bottom and let it fall right out to the top. Alright, wheel this bad boy in, tilt it back, wheel it. Don't lift unnecessarily. Alright, now I'm about there. Turns out that tire is taller than this one. It's interesting. So I am going to have to do a little bit of lifting, or I can lower the vehicle. I'll lower the vehicle, for example, so that you can see how to do that. Should be enough. Good. Now I only have to lift it up about that much to get it lined up. So you're going to want to line them up first, as much as you can. It doesn't have to be exact. But here we go. Alright, what I always do is I always try to get the topmost stud into the hole first. That'll help you align the rest of them. So, I put my foot under as a wedge. You just have to lift up a little bit, kind of use your toe to help you. There we go. Alright, I've got my top in. Now that I have the top in, just gonna wiggle the bottom. There we go, and that's it. Put back in there, grab the stud, go to that top one. It's not going to be perfectly aligned. There's no way it's going to be perfectly aligned. So, just get one in. Now it can't fall off. Push your foot back in there again. Now is when you can look at it, kind of move it a little bit, and get your alignment. There we go. Put another one in towards the bottom. Not gonna be able, there's no reason to even try to tighten them up by hand. Just get them on, make sure the threads are straight. There you go. Not all cars, especially older ones, have a solid end on them. That lets me know that this goes this direction. However, all will have a tapered end. I hope you guys can see that. All will have a tapered end that goes inside. All right, back to tightening again. Once I put it on here, start to spin it. Once it stops, don't force it. Skip one, go to the next one. Spin it on. Once it stops, don't force it, because you're going to be pulling them in at angles. You don't want to break the studs that are in the back. The bolt, the stud. So put it on, spin it on. Once it stops, stop. Skip one, even pressure, spin it. Once it stops, stop. Skip one. Now I'm back to the safety anti-theft one. On, stop. Go. All right, now that those are on, just make sure they're hand snugged. See how the wheel turns? Well, there's no way I could possibly tighten it, right? That's when you lower it and put 50% of the pressure back onto the tire. If you put all the pressure back onto the tire, what happens? If you're not straight, it's going to add more pressure to your nut, to your studs, again, giving it an option of snapping it. So I don't know if you notice, there's a lot of safety things to not snap a stud. If you snap a stud out on the street, you're kind of screwed. If you don't have AAA, you're extra screwed. All right, let the tire touch and add just a little bit of pressure. There we go. Now, I know it won't spin. How I can check this, remember, I chocked that wheel. So me moving this like this, I'm not in danger. All right. Here, that's the right size. Crank it, skip one. Crank it, skip one. Crank it, skip one. Crank it, skip one. Crank it. Now, I know I cranked this one already. That was the first one I cranked, right? But because I cranked all the other ones, when I go back to it, it is not going to be as tight as it was when I started. And that'll happen 4 or 5 times. See how I was able to hand crank it again? So, that goes to show you the different angles that it's pulling on and why you have to skip one to make sure that you're not just pulling it on the side. now that I have it in there, check it. Yep. Yep. Okay. Now I'm going to drop it and put it down completely. It's a hot day today. Done with this, so I'm going to crank it all the way back down so I can get it into the back spare tire well. There we go. That's done. That's done. Alright, I'm 200 pounds. 200 pounds of pressure is too much to be stomping on this wheel. 150 pounds to stand on it is okay. You're 120, 130 pounds, so these are probably 110 to 125 foot-pounds of torque. Meaning, when I set this on there, if I had a gauge, a torque wrench, or an air ratchet with a setting for torque, I would find out what the manufacturer required, which is probably 110 to 125, and then I would set it exactly. Who the hell is going to be able to do that on the street? All right. So what I do is I get on it. I am going to stand on it, but I'm also holding onto this and not putting all of my pressure on it. Here we go. It's done. Holding onto it. Here we go. It's done. There we go. That's done. The next one is the safety lock. Okay. Again, with the safety lock, I don't want to stand on it because it adds that extra leverage. I'm way out here. I'm way out here with the pressure. You don't want to do that. You don't want to snap those studs. So push down, pull up, or when you have the other one, just kind of pull it and give it basically all you got. All right. Here we go. That's done. Okay. And last one. Okay, now, do I think those are perfect? No, I don't. So what I'm going to do, and what they always recommend in every book, every class, every place you've ever been taught, unless you have an air chisel and you're in a shop, I'm sorry, an air socket and you're in the shop. He lives here, what'd you kill him? So, you drive about 5-10 miles or 5 to 10 minutes at the speed limit without peeling out, without doing 110. You pull over and you do it again. You just check them. And what that does is if it was off balance and any of them are loose, it'll balance and you'll be able to see which ones are loose, and you just retighten it. You're good to go for the next, till your next blowout. Okay, so you are done. When you get home tonight, I'll check them again. That's it. Oh, that's my baby. There's my baby. I'd be really upset if I didn't hit record. No. Okay, notice the wheel chock is still on there. Wheel's done. Oh, last thing. On every tire built in America, there is a 3 or 4 digit letters followed by a 4-digit number. That is 0110. That one is telling me that this tire was manufactured in January of 2010. That means that this is a 14-year-old tire. It is time to get a new one, and my recommendation is that you check that. Don't let your tires get older than 7 or 8 years without checking it and getting a new one. This whole tire is probably 50, 60 bucks, maybe 80 bucks, including a rim and tire, inflated to last me another 7 years. It's $10 a year-ish. It's a lot. It's worth it besides getting another blowout when you absolutely need it the most. All right? Oh, and then the last thing. I know you just got a new tire, probably from some shop that you're supposed to trust. On every tire, it tells you the pressure that you're supposed to inflate it to. And hopefully, there it is. I don't know if you can see that. Right here, it says maximum pressure, 51 PSI. That is my maximum pressure. I cannot go any higher. Can I get that? Than 51 PSI. Maximum pressure, 51 PSI. Let's see where they put this. I like to go to about 75% of maximum pressure. We are at 40. That is very respectable. I've got no issues with that. 40 PSI. All right, I'm gonna leave that alone. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go to a gas station at some point. I'm gonna make sure everything else is even to that. 40 to 42 is where I like to go when it says 50 to 51 PSI max. All right, have a good day.